stood for. They were our massive retaliation capability, and therefore they were very high security bases. Whatever this was flying around could just penetrate all these defenses at will.
The important question, did the UFOs affect the missile's ability to launch?
Malmstrom Air Force Base had several intrusions near missile silos, one involving an object which, according to one witness, hovered over the silo and somehow managed to change the tracking numbers on the missile. According to the witness, the missile had to be removed and retooled to make it work again. And to see this, not in UFO books, but in government military messages, was a real eye-opener. And I think that if the public had known that at the time, there would have been great alarm.
About 10 years before, Air Force Lieutenant Robert Jacobs witnessed something remarkable.
Hair's going up on the back of my neck right now thinking about it, just remembering that day. I saw something that was so strange that it changed my life.
Jacobs was in charge of a special unit that filmed Minuteman and Atlas missiles during launch tests from Vandenberg Air Force Base in California.
So my job was to provide photographic documentation from 30 or 40 different camera positions for each launch. We walked onto the missile and we saw all 3 stages of powered flight.
The camera followed the missile through its successful flight.
Now what we didn't know is what else we had got besides the missile.
Soon after, Project Director Lorenz Mansman called Jacobs into his office.
There were 2 guys in gray suits in there, civilian clothes. They were not in the Air Force. They were from somewhere else. They never identified themselves. They could have been CIA, OSI, OSS.
All 4 of the men watched the film of the missile flight.
The nose cone spread out, the warhead was quite plainly visible. Something flew into the frame. What I saw was a circular object. It was a classic flying saucer, and it shot a beam of something at our warhead. You have to imagine this thing is flying along at several thousand miles an hour. This stuff is flying along, and something comes into the frame and chasing it, and comes in like this and fires at it, and goes around like this and fires at it, and goes around like this and fires at it, and fires at it like this, and then goes back out that way. What the hell could do that?
Suddenly, Jacobs was in the hot seat.
And he said, "What was that?" And I said, "It looks to me like we got a UFO." And he said, "You are never to say that again. As far as you're concerned, Lieutenant Jacobs, this never happened." And I was sworn to silence, reminded of the severity of a security breach, and told to leave the room.
After keeping silent for many years, Jacobs went public. The Air Force responded with complete denial.
The Air Force denied that I was ever there.
Despite the existence of the film, the Air Force denied that Jacobs was in charge of the special photo unit. They even denied he was in the Air Force at the time.
They denied everything.
Records reveal that Jacobs was in the Air Force, that he was in charge of the photo unit, and that he was filming that day. Major Mansman, his commanding officer who screened the film with him, wrote a letter confirming Jacobs' account of the UFO.
The Air Force is probably not going to like this film, but there's nothing they can do about it. It exists, it documents the telescope, the people who were there, including me. And if there are any ramifications about it, I guess I just don't care anymore.
Next on Unexplained Mysteries, is there a connection between top-secret black projects and UFO sightings?
Certainly some of these things are going to look very strange. They're very unlike aircraft with which people are familiar.
Is the military using alien technology in its black projects?
I think the technology at Area 51 originally came from somewhere else.
And what happens to people who want to get close to Area 51?